Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today to do a review of The Crown by Kiera. Okay, so before I get into my review, I'm going to go through the backstory of this selection, which I have all of the books here with me. So, here are all of them. Now, they are sort of in a series, sort of not. When you actually pick up The Crown, which is the one that I'm going to be mainly reviewing today, it does say Book 5 of the Selection Series. I don't completely agree with this because it's not really the Selection Series, but I'm going to break it down for you. Book 1 is about a girl, America singer, who gets drawn into the selection to be the princess. In the tradition in their country, the royal prince, soon to be king, gets married off to one of the people in the town or in the country from different classes, and they are doing this because it's the way to get in touch with the people, and it's basically a distraction method that they use to calm their people down from war and things like that. So that's how this starts off, is Prince Maxton getting married off, and it follows a girl, America singer, but you follow a lot of girls in the selection. So that's book 1. Book 2 is The Elite, where he dwindles down the numbers, and you follow that part of the selection as well. And book 3, as you can probably guess from the cover, is Wedding. Prince Maxton makes his decision, and he marries one of the, I think it's 29 ladies or something like that. So that's what happens in these 3 books. Now, along with that, here is The Heir. This is Prince Maxton and the woman he chooses to marry's offspring, and she goes through the selection. Usually it's just men, but they changed the rules and decided, since they had a firstborn daughter, to let the daughter have a selection of her own. She was not thrilled about, by the way. And the main person in this is Evelyn. Let me know how you guys say it. And then the last book in this double add-on series is The Crown, which is what I'm going to be focusing on, where she makes her decision and stuff goes down. Now there also is The Happily Ever After by Kiera, and these are novellas from the first 3 books of the selection series. So getting down to it, The Crown. A lot of people don't like the selection books because they found America Singer to be very whiny and annoying and fickle, and they did not like her. I didn't have a problem with her. I think I just have a lot of tolerance for more fussy characters, that it didn't bother me too much. Same with Evelyn. I'm gonna go with Evelyn for this video. Evelyn, they found her to be cold and heartless, and they couldn't connect with her. And I could see that, but she just seemed like a strong woman to me. So it didn't bother me, her personality, it didn't bug me. So I still loved these books, and I gave this particular book, a 4 out of 5 stars. Now I am going to get into the spoilery section because it is book 2 or book 5, whatever you prefer. In the series, there is no way for me to talk about this besides what I've already talked about without it being spoilers. So if you have not read the book, leave now. Okay, so if all of you are still here, you were either not planning on reading the book and you just kind of want to know what happens, or you read the book and you want to talk about it. So welcome, friends. So I actually really enjoyed these books. I don't know what it is about Kiera's writing or her characters. I just get so caught up in her books. I hardly ever cry. Like, I haven't probably cried in 2 years. These books make me cry. Like, not like ugly cry, but just like tears, and that's surprising because it's really hard to do. So I want to start off by talking about the boys in the selection, well, Evelyn's selection. So, Gunter, I actually had to look up the boys in this book. I don't even remember Gunter, to be completely honest. I know that he wrote a poem, but he was not memorable to me. And I found this to be very true for a lot of the men in here. I couldn't connect as well as I could the first 3 books in the selection series. I don't know if it's because of the point of view that you get, because in America's books you were in the selection while you're reading them, so you could see more about the personalities of the rest of the girls. and you don't see that too much. They're almost background characters, which I wish I would have gotten to know a little bit more about them. That also goes along with Fox. He was not interesting to me. I could never remember him. Nothing made him special to me. And then literally right before she eliminated him, then we got to see like his personality and like just more of his backstory, and that's when I felt bad for him. Then of course she sent him home, which kind of sucked because I wish I would have learned that character development beforehand, not at the end of the book. But regardless, I absolutely adored the Ian and Hale coupling. I am so glad that she put this in there, and it was like an inkling in the back of my mind that this could have been a possibility, but I was so wrapped up in the story that I wasn't thinking practically. If I would have gone through, I'm sure I would have seen a lot more of those telling signs that this could have happened. But I'm loving that they were a same-sex couple in this book, and I'm so glad that was portrayed, and it makes so much sense for it to be in here. So I'm really glad about that. The only thing that I don't like is that in the country they're not allowed to be together, like to form relationships. I don't know if it's just the country or if it's just because they were in the selection. Either way, I'm not crazy about it, but that's also reality. That happens, you know, day-to-day life. Obviously not anymore because we've got some rights going on now, but I didn't like that that was the situation going on there and they had to add that in. I felt like that was unneeded. It would have been totally awesome if they would have added this into the book, and she obviously was still happy for them, but it would have been great to have the community accept this as well, and I wish there wasn't like any animosity between that. I wish that it was able to just be like, they love each other and here it is, like they don't have to hide it, and that's the only thing that I wish she would have done a little bit differently. Kyle, I was rooting for him from the beginning because underdog, and just like all of the servants in the household, everybody wants like the neighborhood boy to be with the girl, but it was just a little off. I really liked him throughout the entire story until the end, where he wanted to give up his dream to help her run the country, and I just was like, he was such a strong-minded character that that move seemed totally impractical for him to do because he wasn't in love with her. There was no reason besides loyalty to his queen for him to do that, and it just felt a little too forced there. But I did really like her forcing himself to move away from the castle because he hated it there, and I loved that part of the book, that it was a way for her to show her heart there, and I think it was easier for the readers to connect with her at the end as well. Henry, I don't even know how he got that far. I really don't. Like, I get, if you've read the end of the book, till the end of the book, I get the end game, but I don't understand how Henry got that far in the book regardless. Like, spoiler, you shouldn't even be watching if you haven't read the book, but I'm going to put this out there anyways. Spoilers, she ends up with Eric, but she didn't start this relationship with Eric until like the very end of this book, or like the last third of this book. So how the heck did Henry make it through all of these boys when he barely speaks like a lick of English? Like, you don't even know him. He was a fun add-in, but it was not like they had any connection, so it baffled me through the air and this book that Henry even made it this far, and I was like, no one is taking her seriously. Like, she constantly talked about in the book, she wanted to be taken seriously as a queen. She didn't want her people to hate her. How do you think that comes across? You're keeping someone who doesn't speak your own language to be your husband. Like, that was too weird to me. Like, if she went out of her way to get to know Henry more, then I would understand her keeping him. But that just seemed way too impractical, that you are choosing from a lot of 29 boys and you keep the one who doesn't speak English. Did anybody else get irritated by that Henry was still around? Not saying that I don't like Henry, I'm just saying it made no sense in the aspect of this book. Switching gears here, I know that what definitely kept me coming back, I mean, let's be real, I loved the Selection series. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, so I knew I was going to come back to these anyways, regardless of how bad the air was, which it was not bad. but I definitely wanted to come back to make sure that America was alright after her heart attack. That's how we left off on The Heir. And The Heir wasn't as good as The Crown. I like The Crown a lot better than The Heir. But really glad America was back and she's better and she's healing, because I could not take her dying and then watching Maxon fall apart. Like, could not handle that. You get so attached to Maxon, at least I did in the selection series, with his backstory, with his father, with seeing him really evolve his entire character through these 3 books, that you get so attached, and I just could not witness Maxon to go through that heartbreak for him. I just could not handle it. So I'm really glad that America was okay. I think I'm more attached to Maxon than I was to America in the first place. Now, someone I was not attached to at all was Merid. I think, little side rant, Kiera, can you not make these names any more difficult to pronounce? Are you joking? Like, where do you come up with this stuff? I think that this is like a small, like, tee-hee-hee for authors to do, that when we can't pronounce the names and then it's issues, like talking about the book. I think that's their small pleasure of all the painless nights or the painful nights that they go through writing the books to deal with. Anywho, back to Merid, or whatever his name is. He was a pain in the ass. Excuse my language. But he was. I really, really disliked him. And I disliked him from the get-go. I did not trust him when he randomly popped back up there. And I was totally right. He shouldn't have been trusted. The entire thing is just so absurd, that concept that someone could come back in and be like, hey, I'm royal blood too, I'm gonna marry her and it's not gonna matter and everybody's gonna vote for me, and what? Like, also, I really wanted them to play up that, oh, if you guys are so accepting of Merid coming in here and proposing to me, why do you care if Eric's in the lineup anyways or not, because you didn't care 2 seconds ago, like, hypocrisy. But I'm really glad that he was not more a part of it, because he was a good villain, don't get me wrong, but he annoyed the crap out of me and it felt so out of place, and everything else was like going wrong for her that I didn't feel like she needed more conflict in the book. But speaking of Eric, so Eric is Henry's translator. Eric is like adorable. He kind of reminded me of Aspen a little bit, so I was always like an in-between Max and Aspen person in the selection series, so my heart kind of already went out to Eric, and I liked Eric from the very beginning, but I was always like, no, he can't be an option. Like, didn't even put my hopes out there because he wasn't part of the selection. So, but I'm really glad that they ended up together. I'm really glad that it wasn't Kyle, as much as I like Kyle, because it just would have been too weird. Like, it just would have been a devotion thing. Speaking of devotion thing, how could she, like, ask Henry to marry her purely out of devotion? Like, dude, think about his life. Like, you don't love him. You don't even know if you can love him. Like, how dare you risk his future? Like, I get sacrificing yourself and not sacrificing your love life, but how can you put someone else through that when you don't even know if you're able to love him ever? I just thought that that was a little heartless, reflecting what all the rest of the readers are already thinking, which did not help the point. So overall, I think the characters could have been fleshed out a little more. I did like Evelyn eventually, just like I did like Josie eventually, but Josie was kind of a pain in the butt to me, and I didn't like Josie and Evelyn's relationship together. I didn't think that helped her case very well. And the random side note of Lady Bryce was very strange as well. Like, all of a sudden this all like got thrown on us in there too. I mean, I liked her, but I also was very weary. Like, there's something weird about her too, but I guess I knew something was weird with her all of a sudden, her taking the spotlight in the books, but I never would have guessed that. Also, with the characters, Aaron, he was like a big part in The Heir, and then The Crown came along and he was out of there, like hardly ever mentioned, and I didn't like that because I really liked their brother-sister relationship and how close she was connected to him, and I really wish he was more a part of The Crown and she was able to like correspond with him. Like, I know she was able to grow on her own by separating from them, but I really liked the dynamic of the brother and sister relationship in here, and I wish that would have been kept in place. instead of basically shipping them off, like off of the book. Like I know he ran away voluntarily, but still. So I wish that the boys were a little more fleshed out and that Aaron would have stayed, and that would have been a really cool relationship to have, like the big, well, I guess not big brother, but brother slash best friend getting in on the guys and like checking out all of their like flaws and stuff, and that would have been a really good way to introduce more characteristics of the boys in the selection instead of being all one-dimensional, I feel like. But the pacing style is always really well. It's a really fast read and it goes really well together in Kiera Cass books. I haven't read The Siren, which is right up there, but I do want to read that soon because I do love Kiera Cass's writing, and she just reads really fun, fast, good reads in my opinion. So let me know what you guys have thought about this. I would love to converse with you down below, and just make sure to put spoilers and stuff in the comments section. Like, I don't want people to get spoiled. I do want to talk about this stuff down below. Leave me a comment if you read it or if you are going to pick it up. If you are going to pick it up, what are you doing still on this video? You just got spoiled for the entire video. But really, I guess you took your own risk. Come talk to me down below if you could like the selection series, what are your pros and cons, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.